do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll call the Mercer County School District 404 Board of Education Truth and Taxation hearing to order. Roll call, please, Leanne.
Ballmer.
Here.
Lower.
Here.
Munson. Nelson.
Here.
Smock.
Here.
Frick. And Yates.
Here. Before we entertain public comments, who's going to give a little background on the tax levy?
And we'll do the comments after that.
Yes,
Okay, so every December, the school board votes to submit a levy, and this, of course, is the time of year to do that. Last year, we had an EAV of $253 million. The EAV is 1/3 of your property value, so if you have a $100,000 home valued at $100,000, then your EAV would be $33,000. And so the tax rate is applied to each $100 of value on your EAV, and that's how you can calculate simply what your property tax is going to be. So last year we were told that it was going to be $250 million, not $253 million, and so the board tried to keep their tax rate at $4.83, and we just received our audit today, or a few days ago. I just looked at it today, and so you can tell over here, these check marks, you can't see it, of course, but it tells what our tax rate was for each of the past several years. And in 2022 it was $4.84. Next year it was $4.83, and then last year it was $4.77. It went down 6 cents because the EAV went up after they voted on it, and so then that lowered the tax rate by 6 cents. And I have checked, and for a number of years before that, it was also $4.83. And so Scott Petrie, I had a conversation with him. He said each year he just tries to keep it at $4.83. And so what my recommendation is tonight is, though it went down to $4.77 last year, put it back to where it was, $4.83, and hopefully in the future it can just stay there at $4.83. So what that means is that the assessor hasn't raised your assessed value. And a lot of years they don't. A lot of times they'll do it once every 3 or 4 years. They'll take a look at your property and see if they need to go up. But if yours is one that didn't go up this year, if we kept it at that $4.83, now of course last year went down to $4.77, so putting it back up to $4.83, there'll be a slight increase, but it would be what it would have been last year if we had that accurate number. But if you put a new garage on, or if you somehow renovated your house significantly, or the assessor it was your turn for that assessor to look at your property and they decided to raise it, or it's new construction. It can be new construction. Someone builds a new house and the assessor says, well, it used to be fallow ground and now it's going to go up because it has a structure on it. So there's a number of reasons why. Or another one is home sales. So if you bought your house, in the 70s for $50,000 and now you just sold it for $200,000. Well, the assessor, they a lot of times don't raise it to $200,000, but they're certainly going to raise it to $150,000, $175,000 or something. And so then that also causes the EAV to go up. And so some people will, their taxes will go up not because the tax rate's going up, but because the assessed value is going up. So with that said, as a little bit of background, the EAV is estimated to be $276 million this year. So last year it was $253 million. This year it's estimated to be $276 million. And that includes Rock Island County and that includes Henderson County. Okay, and so then what I did was I applied a $4.83 tax rate to that number. Now, so that we don't get the number, if the EAV goes up again this year after, like in the spring, well then we'll be in the same boat as last year. The tax rate will go back down. And so I calculated what that difference was last year, and it was a 1.2%. So when it went from 250 to 253, it was 1.2%. So then I added 1.2% to this year's EAV, and then recalculated that $4.83. But we have max tax rates, and so if it doesn't go up, then that money isn't realized, because you can only have $2.70 in your ed fund. You can only have 70 cents in your O&M fund, and in your transportation fund is 20 cents. Working cash is a nickel. Fire, the health life safety is a nickel. The sped tax rate can only go up to 4 cents, and the lease can only go up to 5 cents. So those are max rates. So if it doesn't go up to the 1.2%, they'll stay at that lower amount. And so that's kind of the background to what my recommendation is. And I guess we can open it up to comments.
Good evening, school board members, interim superintendent, and residents of our community. My name is Mario Pauly. I'm a taxpayer, local business owner, and I serve as one of Aledo's city aldermen. I stand before you tonight as a fellow elected official who took the same oath to serve the public interest, one that demands unwavering fiscal responsibility and complete transparency with the hard-earned tax dollars of our residents. As a parent to 3 children in our school district, I want the very best for our schools. We want outstanding teachers, modern and safe facilities, and every opportunity for our students to excel. No one in this room would dispute that, I don't believe. But wanting the best does not mean we can ignore the real pain the 12% tax levy increase will inflict on our families, many of whom are already struggling. The schools already receive 63.1% of our property tax money. If the 12% increase goes through, it will impact everyone's tax bill by increasing at least 7.5% in that range, if my calculations are correct. That is why I'm here tonight, to seek answers, not just for myself, but for every taxpayer who feels this burden. So a couple questions I have. Is the district's current budget truly balanced? If it is balanced, then what extraordinary, unavoidable circumstances justify a double-digit tax increase? If it is not balanced, what aggressive steps have been taken to close the gap through internal efficiencies, reallocations, or reserves before turning to the taxpayers as the solution? Where is the evidence of meaningful spending cuts? Have we exhaustively reviewed administrative overhead for reduction? Have we made the tough choices to eliminate or scale back non-essential programs and redirect every possible dollar to the classrooms? Just roughly a year ago, a $20 million project was proposed and voted down. It was said that there would be no change to our tax rate if we move forward with that project. If that's the case, it seems like with this tax rate increase, that statement would not have been true. So to close, I would like to ask this school board, prove to us line by line, dollar by dollar, why a 12% increase is absolutely necessary. Show us the detailed breakdown of new expenses. Above all, demonstrate the hard data, not promises or projections, but how these additional millions will translate into measurable improvements in student achievement. As elected officials, we were not made to rubber stamp budgets or to raise taxes without relentless scrutiny. We were sent here to protect the public purse, to make the difficult decisions, and to earn trust through unflinching honesty. A 12% tax levy increase is not a minor adjustment. It is a profound decision that will ripple through every household in this district for years to come. We owe our residents far more than vague assurances or appeals to emotion. We owe them facts, accountability, and the courage to say no when the numbers don't add up. I'm not opposing education. I am defending responsible governance and the families who cannot afford to pay more without sacrifice. I urge this board to provide the detailed, transparent justification our community deserves before moving forward. Thank you for your attention and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mario. Eric Coulter.
I'm Eric Coulter. I'm from Joy. I'm not as eloquent as Mario nor as prepared. I do think it's fiscally irresponsible as a board to try and propose something like this after it was just defeated, essentially, on a ballot. You know, this truth and taxation hearing, I guess I'm kind of curious where those things were. You know, it's supposed to be publicly posted. Yeah, Alan, when you're doing your numbers, you and I worked together before, you're saying 1.2, and then we come up with 12. You know, if there's enough discrepancy, I think there should be more discussion. You know, everybody can say, oh, if you don't like it, you can run. A lot of us serve on other boards, and there's only so many hours in the day. You know, I have to find that for the committees that I serve on also. You know, and we're all facing different hardships. You know, look at our ambulance situation, look at our fire situations. You know, we're all trying to ask taxpayers a lot in this day and age. I think there's a lot of different things that can be had instead of this shotgun approach. I know you've been put in a difficult situation with some of your management, so you know, we're pretty fortunate to have some people who can step in and help you. But I think you need to look at that assistance, you know, because this district had a really good floor plan when we consolidated. And it has really went a direction that's not palatable for a lot of people, and it's not, you know, there's no longevity to it at this trajectory. So I guess as you're doing these things and saying, oh, we're doing it for the kids, we're doing it for the district, I think you need to take a wider approach, and you really need to start tapping into some of the talent that's out here. You know, we've got people like Mario that are willing to interject. I mean, that's how we brought this school district together, was with a lot of people working together, not agendas, not, you know, perceived plans. It was communication that was clear and effective. So I think that's something we need to really have going forward. Otherwise, you're going to keep seeing the pushback and the vitriol that's going to continue to increase. So I guess, you know, I would really think you should think real hard before you start going down this road, tacking on 12%. You know, and you don't know what the EAV is going to be. You know, with the other districts, you know, we pass our budgets and the EAV comes out, and that's how we're going to devise it, not the other way around. This isn't a loan, you know, or I know the interest rate going forward. So, at that, probably close to my 5 minutes. So,
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Yates, is there a second? Second. Palmer, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Adjourn at 6:43. So now we'll call the regularly scheduled board meeting to order at 6:43. Roll call, please.
Balmer. Lower.
Here.
Munson.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Smock.
Here.
Frick. Yates.
Doesn't look like we have any public comments for the regular board meeting. Is there anyone that wanted a public comment and sign in? All right. Board comments? Board comments. Moving on to item 4, student organization. Is Aubrey here? Oh, there she is. I couldn't see him.
I'm hiding. Thanks for inviting us here tonight. I want to thank you for inviting me here to speak tonight. I'm so happy to be able to talk about the Kindness Club. The Kindness Club was an idea that came to life late last school year. I had known for a long time that I wanted to start some sort of club at Apollo, but no ideas that I had ever felt quite right. I was doing some research for an online course that I was taking and came across a website called the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation. As I was scrolling, I saw a tab marked How to Start a Kindness Club at Your School, and I knew immediately that was it. With the blessing of Mr. Robertson, we had our first meeting in March of last year. I had no idea what to expect at the first meeting. Ideally, I was hoping maybe 20 to 25 students. Permission slips started coming in, and when I walked into the first meeting, we had 70 students. Couldn't believe it. And we now average about 50 to 70 students at each meeting, which is fantastic. At each meeting, we typically open up by sharing ways that we've been kind. The students, then we do a lesson on kindness. Sometimes we focus on a specific word of the month like gratitude, and sometimes we partner up to discuss what we would do in different scenarios. And then we end each meeting voting on a random act of kindness for the month. We've done things like paint kindness rocks and place them around the community. We hung up kindness posters in local businesses around town. We made kindness bingo cards last year. I'm sure most of you know the Green Brothers that were ill just recently. We made cards for them. We did Smiles for Miles, where each student was sent home with a card to send to somebody that lives far away, just to kind of brighten up their day. We are doing right now the Great Snack Basket Swap. We filled up a snack basket and delivered it to Genesis full of snacks, and then their job when they were done was to fill it up and deliver it to another business around town to see how long we could keep that going. We had the very successful Gobble Up Hunger food drive, which brought in over 2,000 items for the food pantry in Mercer County, which was incredible. And then this month, students were sent home with a kindness advent calendar to do some kind things. So much of this would not be possible without the support of the community. It all began with an extremely generous donation from Mel Realty for $1,000 to get the club started. It's been followed up by donations from community members, including Chris and Beth Whiteneck, who just sponsored a pizza party for the class that brought in the most items for the food pantry. I received a very generous donation from the Alito Exchange Club. We were the beneficiary of this year's Community Projects for Mercer County's annual golf outing. And most recently, a wonderful surprise from WQAD's Pay It Forward, where the Kindness Club was awarded $300. And that money is being used to adopt some senior citizens from Brookstone to make sure they have gifts to open under the tree on Christmas morning. It's not just about the money, though. The community's been so supportive from the start. There was such a high demand for kindness posters tagging businesses. We had to go into work and make extra. I always have people reaching out and asking how they can help. It's truly heartwarming. The recognition that the club has received has been incredible. I was invited a couple of months ago to speak at a meeting of the Alito Exchange Club. WQAD has came out a couple times now. They ran a piece on us for a back to school special they did in August, and then they did the Pay It Forward award just recently, and then just to be invited here tonight was also an honor. With all that being said, the part that I genuinely am the most proud of, though, is the kids. We wouldn't have a kindness club if it wasn't for the kids that not just show up at the meetings, but the kids that go out there every day and try to make the world a better place. I've loved getting to know new students that I never had in class, but I especially love when the students run up to me in the hallway and tell me how excited they are for the meetings. I've had students go out on their own and find ways to be kind. For example, last school year, I had a student make up gift bags all on her own for the custodians as a way to say thanks. At our most recent meeting, we had to be relocated unexpectedly from our normal spot in the gym. And without being asked, August jumped right up and helped me grab my supplies and carry them to our new location. And that is what the Kindness Club is all about. Our motto is to change the world with kindness and to show everyone that they matter and can make a difference. I believe that is truly what we are doing. I want to show the students at Apollo that no matter how big or small we are, everyone can make a difference. Then I invited a couple friends to speak.
She is my teacher, and normally there's 50
that's the highlight of the night, so, yeah. Number 5, correspondence, there's a thank you from the Mercer County Never Forget that's going around. I think that was the only one, right? On to item 6, the consent agenda. Anyone have anything they would like removed from the consent agenda? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Yates, motions to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Frick, seconds. Roll call, please.
Lower,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Brick,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Ballmer.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Number 7, the committee reports, Finance Committee. Let's see, did it get in there?
Yeah, here.
Okay. Yeah. So we went through the Finance Committee. We met on Monday, reviewed the monthly bill list, treasurer's report, P-card report, revenue report. We're sitting at 21.8 million. It's our revenue budget. 15.4 million has come in. That's roughly 69.2% of the budget. We're about 41%, 41.67% into the fiscal year. And that's due to most of the property tax money comes in at the beginning of the year, and then we have that to live off of for the rest of the year. So we're waiting probably on the second half of the property tax.
Yeah,
Federal and
yeah,
state.
the monthly state income.
Yeah. Our expense report, our yearly revenue budget is 21.8 million. Our expense report budget is 25.2 million. So we do have a deficit that we're trying to work through at this point in time. 10.3 million has been spent, so it's about 41.75% of the budget that's been spent, and we are 41.67% through the fiscal year. So actually, that's a good thing, because typically we have some bills that come due at the beginning of the year that we won't have to pay again. So we should be kind of sitting slightly ahead of target where we're at. Health insurance report, not good. We had deposits into the account. We're self-insured, so we had deposits into the account of 189,000, but we spent 265,000 in payouts in November. And so our cash reserves at the end of November were 393,323, and in December we had $188,000 in deposits, and we spent 280,000. So our self-insured cash reserves are sitting at $301,000 right now, and we are looking at some various ways to try to offer a more cost-effective health plan for our employees at this time. So then we went on to the levy discussion, which we'll get into in a little bit more deeper context here in the action items. Discuss the 10-year health life safety at the high school. The architect is working on it. We talked about transferring money to the Title I grant from Title II. Correct. Then we also discussed the pre-K savings, which we will also discuss that later, right? Or not?
No, I said that on there. You're welcome to discuss it.
I brought it with me. 266,000. So moving the elementary schools back to moving the pre-K back to the elementary schools saved us $263,000, 66,000. And the majority of that is due to the savings and transportation costs that we'll have. Yeah. So, but the 134,000 of that is in transportation cost savings that we will be able to realize. Then let's see. Then we talked about deficit reduction plans. We started talking about things, and Mr. Boucher, it's a little early in that process, but he's compiling a list of items that we can hopefully choose from to get that budget back to where it should be and under control. So, anyone?
Yeah, maybe a little context on the health insurance for folks who don't follow along with health insurance costs. I've been on board just about 5 years. I've been on the finance committee, I think, every year. But when I began at the district, that Blue Cross Blue Shield, the amount of money we had to spend from was, and I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I know from memory, because we've talked about it over the course of a few years, there's been this gradual decline in the balance that we had available. Our expenses have been a little ahead of our deposits. But I think when I got on the board in 21, that number was around $800,000. And today we're sitting around $300,000. So we, in spite of all of our efforts to try and not lose money in that fund, it's about $100,000 a year. Just off the top of my head, there's been months where our deposits have exceeded our expenses. But I think the vast majority have not, though. And sometimes it's $10,000 or $20,000, and other ones like this where it's it's tens of thousands of dollars. Our rates, like we don't have a lot of say in what our rates are. Those keep going up. It's not healthy, but we're trying to figure out a way to sort of stop this, because that's just that's one hole we're trying to stick our finger in to stop leaking money.
And it would help the employees too, because then their money coming out of their check would hopefully be less if we're able to find a suitable solution.
I know, just something else I thought of here. I know from my previous employment at the sheriff's office, there was no year that I worked at the sheriff's office where our insurance rates didn't go up. Sometimes we were lucky and they went up in single digits, but I know in the last few years I was there, those were 11 or 12% numbers every time. And that just seems to be the flavor of health insurance right now. And I don't know where it stops, because it's unsustainable for us, it's unsustainable for private businesses, it's unsustainable everywhere. It's difficult. So anyway, it wasn't a pep talk, but that's what I can remember. Mr. Pauly, I know you were talking about some real world examples, and that's one off the top of my head, is that decline in our amount available to pay off health insurance claims.
Any board members have any other comments on the finance or questions? All right. Moving on to item 8, information discussion items. 8.1 FOIA requests. We had 2 in our packet. One is from Academy Research Group, just looking for employees' names, hire dates, phone numbers. So basically all of the information that's readily available on our website, but they were looking for that. And then we had an attorney looking for additional information on the court case that's going on. So those were the 2 FOIAs that we had. Any questions? 8.2 updates from the joint annual conference. Jason, you want to go first?
I'd love to go first, but I'm not prepared. So
Okay.
I can provide a summary of my experience there, and I apologize.
That's all right.
It's nobody's fault but mine, but
That's all right.
I'm making excuses. I'm just not prepared for that.
I attended a few different breakout sessions. One was on Open Meetings Act, and so just they talked about some ways that you can handle that situation and prepare for those situations a little bit better. That's probably the best one I went to. There were a couple other on some facilities and how they ran their referendums and things like that. But overall, pretty good experience, and learned some good things that we're going to start implementing when it comes to the Open Meetings Act. So. 8.3 Academic Improvement Planning Update.
Okay, so on January 5th, we're going to have a Teacher Institute. The teachers come back before the students do on the 6th, and we have a full day for them. We're going to start it at 8:15 with a welcome back message from me, and then we're going to have a district multi-tiered systems of support plan presentation from the administrators. And then we're going to have an AI presentation by Cheyenne McCann, the principal down at New Boston. And then we're going to have a STEAM speaker, which, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Speaker Sam McCullen is going to be coming from Davenport and doing some hands-on activities with the staff on how they can implement STEAM strategies into their lessons. And that's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be hopefully very instructive for the staff. And then in the afternoon, they're going to return to their buildings, and the principals will develop the afternoon schedule for the things that are for each of the different buildings.
All right, thank you for that update. 8.4, the FY25 audit.
Each year we have the audit, and this year is no exception. They usually start gathering things in August, and they analyze them, and then they have reports. Usually in October. This year they were kind of running behind schedule, so they didn't send it to us until a few days ago. But we do now have the final audited information, and they look at all different kinds of things, and basically is to make sure that we're doing our bookkeeping correctly, making sure there's no malfeasance going on. They have all kinds of tests that they apply to our books to make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. Sometimes they make suggestions for maybe we could, code this expense a little differently, put it in a different category or whatever. But for the most part, our staff is on the ball, and so they got a good report. They really nothing that they didn't have any major findings. They just have the one that they always have for small school districts, and that is a limited number of key employees have the primary responsibility for performing most of the accounting and financial duties, and so the segregation of duties. So if you're the one who writes the checks, you're not supposed to be the person who balances the checkbook. And if you're the person who finds out what the tax identification numbers are, you're not supposed to be one who writes checks. And so they've got dozens, if not hundreds, of checks and balances that an organization is supposed to do to make sure that things are done correctly. Well, we're just a small school district. We only have 4 people in the unit office, and usually you have to have about 9 or 10 in order to do all of those checks and balances. So what they do is they just do an extra close scan of all that we are doing to make sure that everything is being done correctly. And that's the only finding. It's been a finding, I say here, since 2011. So, and it will be for the next 20 years as well. The only ones that can really do something about it are the big districts like Mullen. They're about the only ones that can have that kind of staffing. And at the beginning of the audit, they pointed out that we ended the year last year $998,000 in the red in the ed fund. Then in the transportation fund, we ended the year $216,000 in the red. And then the other funds were either positive or there's an asterisk because we paid bills to have the elementary built, and so when you pay those bills, even though they're anticipated and they were there well in advance, it still makes the budget look bad. So the O&M looks like it's $2.5 million in the black, but when you take out those construction costs, it's actually a little bit in the black. Did I say that right? Yeah. And so that's kind of an overview of the audit. I think it's good that they didn't have any findings other than that segregation of duties.
So that happens every year.
Right, which it happens every year.
You've been here for all those, haven't you?
Unfortunately.
Any questions on the FY25 audit? Will we get our printed copy next month? Or-
Yes, yes.
Do we have to approve it then?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
All right. 8.5, risk management plan revision.
Okay, one of the ways that we can address our budget woes is to transfer some of the money from the education fund and the operations and maintenance fund, and to put those expenses into the tort fund. Now, the tort fund is designed to be something that you use when you are trying to protect the district from a tortuous act. and which is basically get sued. And so if you have a sidewalk that has a giant crack in it that's a big tripping hazard, and you pay someone to fix it, you can pay for it with tort money. And so as you can imagine, the school district has endless number of risks, you know, and that's why we put an adult on the playground during recess, because we know that bad things happen on the playgrounds, and so that person is there to watch over the students and to intervene when necessary, so you can pay for that person's playground salary out of tort, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that can really help our budget if we transfer those funds, not add funds, just transfer them from the ed and the O&M into the tort fund. And if we do that, I have all kinds of ways we can do that. And at the finance committee, we went over some of those, and it's basically everything in here that's yellow. So you can kind of see there's yellow here and there, and then toward the end it gets really yellow. And basically it's justifying why we can switch those to the tort fund, and also what percentages. One of the things that I did was looked at other school districts to see what they were doing with their tort expenditures, and then I made a chart, and that chart's here. So I found 8 other school districts and what percentages are they using for their staff members, and then I averaged them out, and then I made recommendations in the final column to the board of what those recommendations are, and they are reflected in this risk management plan, and it's in the drive already. So if you want to know what those are, just go ahead and look in the drive. And then I was hoping next month that you, after I also revise it a little more, that you would consider it and we approve it. Now here's the thing, it's basically you can pay up to. So like I put down for teachers, 5% of their time is spent, supervising kids in a way that keeps us, from getting a lawsuit. And so that doesn't mean you have to actually enact it. So in other words, if the tort money that's coming in can't cover all these expenses, well then you just, only do the ones that you can, and the rest will just lie fallow. And then maybe if the tort money comes in, there's more of it that comes in the future, then you can add those other ones. So this is basically a not worst case scenario, but I guess the max case scenario. And that's something to think about. I don't know, you guys have any questions or?
Because I had the copy you gave at the finance meeting, where in the Google Drive is it, do you know?
I think that this plan, the risk management plan, went to the top when I put it in there. But maybe
Is it on this month's board?
Yeah.
Wow.
So by moving that money to tort, doesn't still cost what it costs, it's just tort is not.
Oh, there it is.
Right.
We can ask for more tort money.
Yeah, you can ask for more tort money, but if you want to keep that 483, then you wouldn't. But but as the EAB goes up, then that 483 will bring in a little more for the tort fund. But see, it's technically unlawful to end the year in the red. And so if you do end the year in the red, you have to do what's called a deficit reduction plan, which we had to do this year. And so what they want is in 3 years, what are you going to do to get back to being black again in your budget? And so one of the things we could do is, we probably could only do it once, but we can move some of those expenses into the tort fund so that the ed fund and the O&M fund are more likely to be black, but then we'll also have to do cuts and other things to finish that job. Oh, and it's not just staff. We pay for snow removal with the tort fund. We pay for all of our insurances with the tort fund. We pay for our legal fees are come out of the tort fund. A lot of our architectural fees come out of the tort fund. So there are a lot of programs that we do that come out of the tort fund. It's not just
But the tort fund it builds up still with tax dollars. It's not like free money we get from
Right.
some other.
right. So it's like what you're trying to do is have a balance where not everything is in the ed fund. The ed fund is usually your biggest fund.
Sure.
And this just kind of like divides them up a little more equally. what, basically it's
I'm
just.
asking, I know the answer
Yeah.
to the questions.
Yes.
I'm asking so
Yeah.
everybody else understands that.
So it's like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. So you're still gonna sink, but you know, you can rearrange the deck chairs.
So,
That's
but that's
Mr.
the, I
Boucher.
just want everybody to, I just want everybody to understand that that money's not just somebody that comes in the back door and hands us a pile of money.
Right.
Now we can start
Right.
diverting those expenses to
Yes.
somewhere else.
Right.
The total amount of money that we get is the total amount of money that we get.
Yes.
Now,
Roughly-
some buckets, we can choose out
Yes.
of certain buckets for certain
Yes.
things, and there's other buckets that we can't get into for other
Right,
certain things.
yeah. Yeah, so some of our buckets are overflowing, and so we're taking some of the water and putting it in the empty buckets, but it's still the same amount of water.
The total water we got is
Yeah,
all we got.
and so, yeah.
The
Right.
tort is roughly 51 cents of that $4.83. Goes to the tort. Okay. Any other questions about the risk management plan? The only thing I didn't see on the drive is that.
I don't think this is on, okay, I'll put it on.
Okay. Because were you the one who set these amounts?
No, that was set in 2017,
Okay.
Scott.
We did.
that.
You go.
Yes, we did, so maybe he used ours as, you know,
I just
based
remember,
on.
I've heard this before.
Yeah.
We did it back
Yeah.
for our superintendent.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he used the Titanic reference.
Get an A for creativity.
That's right. All right, 8.6, school resource officer. I know we talked about this last month, but I had a couple of board members ask me if we could put it back on the discussion items list. So last month, we had told Mr. Boucher not to pursue this resource officer for Apollo Junior High, right? That's what they would probably end up being.
Yes,
correct?
yes.
So we've been covering Apollo and Junior High. So I know that we had a couple board members that were interested in pursuing that.
Yep, so I was, asked to leave that on. And I understand we're in a budget issue, but the safety of the kids, we've had a resource officer here before. I don't understand why we wouldn't have one again if it's available.
And be consistent across our schools in general. If we have them at other campuses, I'm a little confused why we wouldn't pursue at least a shared resource officer, the junior high.
Because we don't have one because they had to remove them to go back to duty, is my understanding. Or else we would just have one and we wouldn't be having this conversation anymore, or just have one here.
Right, up until a few months ago, the sheriff's office was, just Deputy Brendan was assigned here. And he had been for a long time. We had staffing shortages at the sheriff's office that was measured in years. The sheriff, finally made a difficult decision to have Deputy Brendan come out of here. I think it's a matter of staffing. I think the sheriff could obtain sufficient staffing to cover patrol and have somebody assigned here all along that Deputy Brendan would still be here.
We just, as a board, we gotta decide what's important, because we didn't used to have a nurse in every building. We didn't used to have, I can name off 40 positions that we didn't used to have, that we do now. And that's part of the reason why our budget's where it's at, is because to do what we want, how we want, and as long as the money's there, we can have the Cadillac, situation. But at some point, like you said, you either gotta choose to have parents be upset because we don't have a resource officer, or we pay the extra money. I mean, it's as simple as that. We have, how many nurses now? We used to, actually, way back when you started, we had like one or two.
Five, yeah.
And now we got 5. We had, there's just all kinds of stuff that we just keep getting more and more of to make things better. And I'm saying none of them didn't make things better, but it made things more expensive. And some of the times we had some monies that during COVID that helped pay for things, and we had Mark Berry paid for resource officers for a few years to get us started, hoping that would stay. And so all these things, but that money goes away. Eventually, he's was putting up, I want to say $200,000 or $250,000
asking about. The teachers, you know, they were here with, asking for more and more this year. There was a big uprising, we're gonna maybe strike, all this stuff. We increased the contract by quite a lot, so that's just another thing when we were already deficit spending the year before by $1 million, and now another $1 million just in the ed fund again this year. And so that's where all that money is going to, and that's, so, I mean, I don't know what else, that's just some examples of things that we're doing that we didn't used to do.
Yeah, and I understand that, but I don't want to compromise student security for decisions like that. I think we can make that up.
I'm just
No,
saying
I know,
we
I
didn't
know.
used to have any.
I know.
There was a point we didn't have any.
No, I understand.
Well, we're in a different world.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
there's
have different problems.
I think that's a fact.
So if that's more, I understand it's not important to me. I'm saying as a group, if that's more important to us than a certain math class, well, then that's what's more important to us. We have to pick what's the most important.
I'm not saying it's more important than that.
I'm just giving an example.
As a district, we should be consistent with our choice. We have SROs at our other campuses. This isn't a new position. This isn't an added position that we're doing. We don't have one.
It
now.
was at one time.
That's all I'm saying.
It was at one time.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it was.
Sure.
There's lots of
Yeah.
these positions that were, when we consolidated, Mr. What's his name? Culver
It was a dollar.
was complaining,
You
you
know,
know,
I mean,
about, hey, you know, where's all this going? When we consolidated, we had a plan, but we did.
That's definitely-
And actually,
You're not wrong.
am I interrupting you guys?
I apologize, it's about this.
Okay.
I apologize.
I'll listen. I mean, I just,
No, I mean, I just literally said Jason retired. There's one, and he said it's done.
yeah. And you just, so you just keep, everybody, you know, for their department, they say, well, we need to have this, we need to have this sensory room, we need to have this thing, we need to have that thing, and we just keep going, okay, and they're all important, everything that we do is important, but we gotta figure out what is the most important, because, you know, we all wanna go out to eat certain nights of the week, or we wanna go see a movie, or whatever, but sometimes that's just not possible, so we gotta decide what it is we want.
Yep.
And I ain't saying, I ain't picking out anything
No, I know
that
you're
we need to get rid of or keep. I'm just saying, as a group, we gotta figure that out, because there's all kinds of places we can cut, but nobody's gonna be happy about any of them.
I understand.
Did Brendel cover both your buildings for the most part?
Well, he's been in a situation where he was housing my building before and he's bounced and covered. Like, I don't know that we've been stable with SROs, but maybe 4 months across our 5 buildings or 5 buildings. So like, he's been housing my building and bouncing around. Well, that's where, like, he's back in our building now.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yeah, I
The
saw
way
it
the
the other day.
conversation's going, like, it didn't make it sound like we were aware of that.
Well,
He is in our building.
I saw him when I came the other day, and so I was surprised to see him, but, so is he kind of just part-time?
I have no idea. I'm not, he's been in our building.
Yeah, I know, and
I don't know what that agreement is with, I've never signed that.
That,
I mean,
that's a
can I
ask
conversation
you a
to have with
question?
Sheriff, because I don't work there anymore, but I know when he left this building, he went to day shift. And so I would expect that you know, that he would be available at least some of the hours today, and that's the conversation with the sheriff, how we're gonna.
But he would come to your building sometimes, or if you needed him, would you call
I've
him?
never, we didn't use Brindle, we had Officer Howard.
Yeah, George was there.
Oh, he was your own, right?
Yes. But now I
We
just call
currently use
the high
Officer
school.
Brindle for our threat assessment, director, coordinator, every time we have a threat assessment, he's the one with the training. We don't have anybody else with the training that I'm aware of, when it comes to, at the high school. And with having someone for that, we need somebody for that.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we have these SROs, it's my understanding we have one in New Boston. And the SRO in New Boston is the New Boston Police, correct?
Right.
So his jurisdiction is only in New Boston. Is that correct or no?
Yeah, I mean, unless there's some kind of.
Okay, so then, the Aledo at the high school has who? Aledo Police Department.
Yes.
Jurisdiction only in Aledo, so that person cannot cover outside either. So you've isolated New Boston with one, Aledo with one, and if there's a problem in the perimeters, you don't have anybody with jurisdiction.
Well, not a
unless
school
you're-
resource officer, it would still just fall on whoever was, on patrol at the
So
time
they
or
would just call
investigating.
patrol to cover like if somebody needed a house visit, so that you
Yeah,
wouldn't be lacking
yeah.
coverage there.
That's a good way to put it. So let's say Officer Evans gets a complaint that there's something going on at a house that the kids go to New Boston school, but they live out in rural New Boston.
Yes.
Deputy or Officer Evans might go out there to try and do that, but if he's unable to make contact with family or whatever, it's going to fall back on the county, not a school resource officer, but somebody is going to go follow up on that complaint however they can.
But there would be coverage.
There would be somebody who would get sent to that call. Now, unlike a dedicated school resource officer whose sole purpose is to take out handle the complaints that originate in the school that may go out of the county, if the deputy that's working day shift is at a traffic crash, he's not going to pause the traffic crash and go to complaint that originated in New Boston but is actually out in the county. And same thing with
Which gets a complaint, it's not an emergency and you're
it just depends on
triaging
what it, yeah, sure, it just depends on what it is, and the nature of the complaint. So, the sheriff's office is sort of the safety net for any insufficient coverage from city officers assigned to schools.
Okay, I was just trying to be clear that we wasn't leaving spaces that was empty without support.
Yeah, the sheriff's office is the main support, and just there's all sorts of things that go into that as far as what sort of coverage there is during the day and where that coverage is assigned.
So I'll check into the status of Deputy Brindle, find out.
Yeah, because when Dusty talked to me, I thought he was looking at Brindle's replacement, and I was under the impression that Brindle was kind of covering both of these schools, but it doesn't sound like Apollo really has anyone in there.
Deputy Brindle hasn't been going to the Apollo lately.
No, Jade, Officer Ford will check in.
That's right.
From time to time.
That's right. You said that last month.
Yeah, I was under the same impression you were, that it's not Deputy Brindle that Dusty was thinking about. It was someone else that he had to contact.
And I guess Donnie, I completely appreciate everything you brought up. I guess where I don't want to err on the side of saying no to an SRO and then have something devastating happen.
Oh, and I just said, I'm not even saying
I know
that.
you weren't
I'm
saying
just
that.
saying, as a group,
That's
whatever we need to decide something
Yeah.
to do. And I don't care, whatever the group decides, I don't care if it's
Yeah.
no officers, officers everywhere, no nurse, I mean, I don't.
They don't have one available.
Right. Well, Dusty
Yeah,
has.
I mean,
he has a lead on.
I'm perfectly okay whatever the group wants to do, but we have to make some changes. I don't think we can feasibly continue on with everything we're doing in every way, is all I'm saying. Now,
I think
that might
Alan's
be-
working on an à la carte option for us to make those changes.
To make some cuts.
Right, yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
my opinion that the school resource officer is important enough that that needs to be in.
Right, and that's all we got to decide now. Do we not want a counselor in every building? Do we not want a nurse in every building? Do we not want so many, aides? Well, we've got to figure out what we're doing, and there's gonna be opposition to, I don't care what it is that we wanna cut. Somebody's gonna say, well, that's fine and dandy, how come my spot or my, help, or my, whatever the case may be, there's gonna be somebody that thinks whatever it is we're gonna try to cut is desperately needed. I can tell you that, nobody's gonna go, well, you know what, I got a couple extra people, go ahead and take them out of here, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
So I think based off, I think there's at least 4 people that want to investigate having this.
Okay, so I'll contact Dusty and say, we follow up on the contact for that lead he has.
Yeah.
And,
And find out the status.
yeah, and then if that person is still interested, then I can bring it back and then you guys can,
With some dollar amounts.
yeah.
So we can make it, an informed decision.
Even if it's August, whatever, if it says, hey, he's not available, say it's supposed to.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Whatever, just throw it somewhere.
Okay.
All right, thank you. 8.7, the board agreements. They are in our packet. So we made some changes to our board agreements. The changes are in yellow. Lori added a few. Lori's are in, orange. And so if no one has any issues with the wording of any of that stuff, we can vote on it next month. But if anybody has any problems with any of the wording or would like something changed, just bring it up now, or otherwise we'll move it to a vote for next month. Nothing? Or you got your? Time it out.
I'm not sure what's technology. Are those two of those? Is it got two?
Probably take your computer out of the budget.
Should be just one.
Yeah,
If you scroll down, if you see yellow in, on the.
I got yellow and orange.
In orange, okay, then that's the right one. That's the right one. The yellow ones are the ones we came up with at the board training when the representative from the IASB came and helped us with the training. And then Lori had some ideas to kind of clean up some language, so those are orange. All right, no further discussion on that. We'll move on to item 9, action items. 9.1 is approval of the FY 25 annual fiscal report.
Motion for that.
Trying to find some.
I don't see it in there either, but I think that can be skipped because I don't think we have to approve that.
I don't remember, what is
Well,
is that a leftover from last year?
No, well, it could be a leftover from last year, but I think it's the form that we send to the state, the budget form.
Oh,
Looking at it earlier
that
today.
we don't have done yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so that, we'll move that one, no action on that item, we'll table that towards till next month. 9.1. 9.2.
You need a motion to table that.
Oh, yeah.
I'll move to table.
All right, Jason, Munson, and Mulder, seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, 9.2, approval of 2026 school tax levy. We spent some time talking about this already. Is there any other discussion?
Well, it's my recommendation that you do the second column from the right, the one that says 1.2% hedge.
Yep,
It's that column.
it's the $13,491,193.20, correct?
Yes.
I would entertain a motion to approve the school tax levy as presented for the $13,491,193.20. Munson, is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Nelson,
No.
Smock,
Yes.
Frick,
Yes.
Yates,
No.
Ballmer,
Yes.
Lower,
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-2. 9.3 is press policies. Last month, we reviewed the press policy semi-annual update. Those policies will then be put into the big binder at the district office, or actually they're filed online now, aren't they? They're found on our website. So I would entertain a motion to approve the press policies as presented. No, the first reading was last month when we.
Okay, it says first reading, still, that's why.
Oh.
Yeah, is this the second reading or first reading?
I thought it was first.
Well, usually first reading would still be a discussion item.
I think it was.
I remember it's, you know, but let's see.
I don't know.
Let me go back and look.
It really doesn't matter.
Yeah,
There are no
Probably should vote.
If there are no substantial changes, you're allowed to vote on the first reading. I don't think.
It's first reading.
Yeah, no, you're close. It's good. It is the first reading. Where did I see those? Were they in the packet last month? All right. We could, if folks would like a chance to review them more, we can table
Yeah,
again.
there's nothing
Yeah,
that's pressing,
So
so
we can
no
table.
pun intended.
So,
We'll make a motion to table that.
okay. So Frick moves to table. Is there a second?
I was in the FFA.
Lower second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. We will table that for next month. And then administrative reports. Two of you here. Oh, no, three.
I'll go first.
All right.
I'm going to prefer to be on the Olympic. I was looking up the sistership of the Titanic as the Olympic. It lasted a long time, so we're going to say we're on the Olympic. Yeah. So, anyways, that being said, we had staff members go to the Racing Student Achievement Conference. It's mainly dealt with technology. There's a little AI in there. Some MTSS topics were discussed. That's up at Chicago. So we have Miss Sessie, Miss Staker, Miss Dornan, and Miss Estes. I'm hoping they're going to be able to report to the rest of the staff on that January 5th afternoon time as to what they learned and what we can utilize from what they learned in those sessions that they did. I'm in depth engulfed in the learning how to do the accommodations for the ACT and the pre-ACT, 8-9 ACT. And this is the second year of using the ACT, I believe, or that format instead of the SAT that was previously done for about 10, 15 years, 12 years. We have two students, high school students graduating early that were already approved, just kind of reiterating that. Winter sports-wise, I'd like to kind of give a little bit of winter sport-wise update. The girls are playing up in Geneseo right now. They're online in the test. They're 9-1 right now. Had a good game against Olivet last night. They won. The boys, I believe, were 5-2, correct? We're against Rock Ridge on Friday. And Scholastical is going to be starting up in mid-January. Wrestling, big night tomorrow night. We have a community event. I believe it starts at 5:30 for junior high and high school. They both do the wrestling meets, matches there in the high school gym. And it's a community night, trying to get a lot of people there. There's a link on the principal report for my section in regards to the new changes. The IHSA, December is when they vote, when the schools vote, and the IHSA approves or goes over what all the schools in Illinois, high school wise, what to change to the IHSA policies. If you want a paper copy of how we voted with that, I do have that here also. Some of the changes that do affect us in regards to softball is going to start earlier, a week earlier. We actually already noted that due to the lack of inside space, because then you would have to start practice a week earlier, and then it runs into also our multi-sport athletes have to figure out the end of the season for basketball and then going into softball. Football, right now, Coach Murray, Mr. Murray, is meeting with the rest of the track ADs in regards to they got rid of the 0 week where you could do that practice game, and now they're allowing more schools into be playoffs. There was a scenario where we would actually make the playoffs at 2-7. I know there's some controversy with competitiveness and that things like that were brought up. But this is in hopes that we have, so in other words, you would have your first 4, your first 8 would actually have a bye when it comes to rankings, and then the rest of them would play that first week 9 in essence, actually week 10, and then they would finish off the playoffs. And then wrestling, also girls wrestling would move up 2 weeks, but that doesn't start until next year. The softball actually starts this year, and then football would be, of course, next year. A couple other things, winter concerts went very well. It was very well attended. Thoroughly impressed with our abilities of our students and our teachers in regards to how they perform the art. We had a couple students, Emily Miller and Holly Brown, received awards at the Festival of Trees high school art exhibit up in the Quad Cities. That was a pretty big accomplishment. A couple last things. FFA banquet has been moved to Thursday, March 12th at 5 o'clock. I think that had something to do with, there was another FFA event on the original scheduled date, I believe, the week before. And then lastly, we are going through course catalogs for next year already, and in hopes to get that all hashed out as to what we want to teach next year and cover and learn. So that's all I have. Is there any questions for me? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
For the junior high, I just wanted to highlight, when I submitted the report, the band and winter concert was on Monday, which was after. But that was really well attended. We had that split on Monday, 5:30 for our 6th grade band and choir. And then our 7th and 8th grade was at 7 o'clock for our band and choir. And just like the progress of Mr. Fornoff, Mr. Ruppel's band, and Ms. Swan's choir, like, might be one of our best performances that we've had in our building. It was really top notch with what they were doing. So kids were pretty happy, and I was definitely really proud of them. So.
Thank you.
I don't have much else to add, just if you want to take a look at our district and community relations, we've done quite a bit with that. The past month, we had our winter music concert as well. Thanks to the high school for letting us use their auditorium. We filled that place up 6 times. We have 6 different concerts, one for each grade level, but it fills up each time, and it's great to see the community there to support that. Huge thanks to Mrs. Reek and the students for their hard work. They actually learned to play instruments for that, so it's pretty cool. Mrs. Olson, Kathy Olson, was recognized as WRNJ Teacher of the Month, so I just want a huge shout out to her and WRNJ for doing that. I think that's kind of a new thing this year, and it's really cool that they presented. I think it was a Scooters gift card or something. I can't remember what the prize was, but her kids all came up and gave her a hug. It was pretty neat to see, so that was cool. Mrs. Norton already talked about our Kindness Club. Over 2,000 items. We know how certain families are hurting right now. Over 2,000 items. The food pantry was great. Took the community support to do that. People just kept bringing in stuff, which was really cool. We had an event, Donuts with Grown-Ups. We had over between 400 and 500 people there in the morning, so it was neat to see that as well too. Just I'm thankful for the community support. It's great for our kids to be connected to the community and vice versa. We like it when we have visitors in our building. That being said, it's 2 days till Christmas break, so if you want to see chaos and crazy at an elementary building, come on over and we'll invite you in the elementary building. But no, I don't have much else. I'm just, like I said, real thankful for all the community support that we get at the elementary.
Forgot to say you guys ran out of donuts. Did you get more?
We have to go get some more.
Thanks for that. Zach threw me under the bus for running out of donuts. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for the update. So item 11 is closed session. We just have a couple of personnel items to discuss, and that's it. So if we have nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to go into closed session. Palmer, is there a second? Yates, roll call, please.
Smock.
Yes.
Frick.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Balmer.
Yes.
Lower.
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.